All right, Jen, we have the S95F from Samsung, their best QD-OLED TV ever, in combination with their new Q990F soundbar. So really awesome that they finally sent me these two pieces together.
Yeah, I know you like a matching set. And so this is kind of small compared to some of the other ones we have for this room. Where are we going to put this?
Well, I was thinking about putting the TV out in the game room because it's a really good gaming TV, and there's some side glare out there, which might be great for this new glare-free finish. And it'll be great with the soundbar out there because it has, you know, the normal 8-foot ceiling as opposed to the vaulted in here. So great combination for out there. Let's unbox the TV in here, and then we'll throw it all out there, okay?
Sounds good. Why don't you tell me more about it while I cut it open?
You got it. So this is the top of the line QD-OLED from Samsung, the S95F. As I said before, it has the glare-free finish, which we'll show you in a minute. It does come in 55, 65, and 77. And I think the 83-inch actually is not QD-OLED, but probably will look almost as good or better. We'll have to see about that. But plenty of time to talk about the specs and performance. Let's see what's in the box.
Okay, B, we've got the bag with all the fun stuff in it right here.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot it had the one-wire thing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes on this bad boy.
Yeah, and they do have the TVs that have the wireless one connect, but I think if we got a wire, it must be connected. You know what I mean?
Oh, you're smart on the uptake.
I am pretty smart. And you know, here's the corresponding box for that.
The box.
I'm stealing your work, Jen. Don't let me do it.
Yeah.
And then you got a little plastic piece for the one connect box. Boom.
Thank you.
That's it, man. That's it.
Again.
You gonna lift this up?
Up.
I'll watch the TV. Bring it out the front.
Front.
Yeah, man. Nice shot. Let's put the stand together. I mean, do we want to just open this up?
It's your show.
Ah, it's my show. Yeah, we got to take the stand out. Let's put it together. Looks like a 7-piece stand. I'm just kidding.
Just quick 35 steps and you're on your way.
I'm pretty sure it's at least 2 to 3 pieces. So we'll just have to set up shop here for a minute and put that together.
Okay, you got the TV?
I do have the TV. It gets a lot less sturdy once you take the heavy weights out of the bottom. So be careful. You know, we don't want it to tip over. Yeah, it's definitely going to. I think there's one more piece over there, Jen, and probably the screws as well.
Okie dokie.
So we got a 3-piece stand, as we said. It's kind of awkward because you have to first put down the vertical piece and then kind of lay the pedestal in there and lock it in place and then stand that upright. And then the third piece actually goes on the TV first. So Jen took the 4 screws, got that on there, and then we put the entire pedestal up and it kind of just sits on top of the other piece, lock it in with 4 more screws, and we're good to go. I mean, Jen handled it, but it was kind of a beast. It's not the most convenient stand in the world to put on a TV, to be honest, but hey, we're not the engineers of this TV, so let's move on. That was a lot of work. You did a good job, Jen.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we're gonna lift this out. We're gonna get our hands in the back.
Oh, in the back here. Yeah.
Well, I guess we don't really need to. We can just slide the pieces off the end and slide it out. I guess that's probably easier. Why don't I lift my end up or your end up first here? You can pull those out. And then we can just wobble it forward.
Wobble it forward. Oh, Brandon, you're getting this styrofoam everywhere.
It's okay. I got a solution for that. Just hold tight.
Okay.
All right, let's put the TV up. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Looking good. Plastic peeling time, Jen.
Okay, my favorite moment. Man,
Yeah, just keep kicking that stuff on the ground. It's totally fine.
Everywhere.
I'm telling you, we're gonna be saved.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, look at that mat.
Okay, Jen, good job, of course.
Of course.
The master peeler. Yeah. the matte finish, as you were peeling that off, I saw that. You can see it in the reflection right there. I mean, it is what it is. People have to like it or hate it, love it or hate it, is what they say.
That's what they say.
But overall, the TV is really bright and it does knock the reflection down to a degree, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. And the back of the TV does not have any HDMI ports on it because we have the One Connect box. It does have the 400 by 400 millimeter VESA pattern if you want to use a regular TV mount, which is fine. Has some cool little passive radiators or whatever for speakers. A neat little system. We're going to hook it up with the actual soundbar, so that'll sound awesome.
Yeah, it will. So who cares about these little guys?
And then you want to grab the One Connect box because that's the thing, you know.
It is the one thing. One Connect to rule them all, right?
Yeah. I'll take that for you.
Sure. We've got the 4 HDMIs right here. What are you doing? Don't pop them.
It's not really making a lot of noise.
You got to get the big ones.
They're all small.
Anyway, we've got our 4 HDMI ports right here. And let's see, number 3 is the eARC, the USB, of course. And then here's the little One Connect slot.
Yeah, and some other stuff, you know.
Some other stuff.
Digital optical, internet line, coaxial cable, some more USBs. All right, so that's the stuff. So Jen, why don't you set the One Connect box? We'll go to the front.
Okay.
Set the One Connect box. Let's start moving stuff. Jen, why don't you peel the plastic off that?
Okay, sounds good. What is this?
Oh, that's the surprise, Jen.
Oh.
There is our DEEBOT T50 from ECOVACS, and I'm actually manually controlling it. But I'm gonna let that clean up the floor here while we move the TV into the game room, because that is a sponsor of our video today, and let's talk about that in a second. So yeah, we have to move the TV out into the game room to really get the best feel for this TV. So while we're doing that, let's explain the ECOVACS DEEBOT T50. We've made a video on this before, so we'll link that here for you guys. But basically, this vacuums and mops your home with an ultra slim 3.19-inch design that really can get in and through tight spaces. The T50 uses advanced LiDAR and 3D obstacle recognition to carefully map your home and then avoid household items like cords, shoes, and furniture legs. Thanks to the TrueEdge 2.0 technology, it delivers meticulous edge-to-edge cleaning and reaches areas most robots miss, which is great because who wants like 90% of your floor clean, right? Then there are 2 really important features that I think you'll love. The first is the all-important blast technology, where the powerful 100-watt motor cleans 93% more effectively while doubling the suction power and airflow of a standard robot vacuum. That's 18,500 pascals of suction that easily lift dust, crumbs, pet hair, and styrofoam off the ground, which is really doing a good job here. And the other is the Zero Tangle 2.0 brushes that are more specifically designed to resist hair wrap, which is a thing. So if you have any long-haired family members or pets, this is really going to help you out there. Another amazing feature is that it lifts up the mops when it's transitioning onto carpets, ensuring that your rugs stay dry and protected. And that is an absolute must for me. I would not have a robot vacuum mop in here that couldn't do this because my rugs must stay dry. But speaking of mopping, the T50 does have dual rotating mop plates and 5-fold cleaning technology to effectively dissolve stubborn stains with continuous water replenishment for spotless floors. And then of course, a really important feature is the OMNI station, which doesn't just empty the dustbin, it also washes and hot air dries the mop, refills the cleaning solution, and resets the vacuum for the next job. From daily tidying to deep cleans, the DEEBOT T50 is a hands-free cleaning partner that quietly takes care of your floors while you focus on what matters most. And for me, that's the TV unboxing and reviews. So let's get back to that, but definitely check the links in the description below for the DEEBOT T50. So out in the game room, we have the S95F set up with the Q990F below it, all working, all functional, which is a good start. And I'm going to talk about the TV and then the soundbar and kind of give my buying advice at the end. First off, I want to talk about that glare-free finish on this S95F. So in this game room on the right side, there's one giant window. And yes, we can control the light and turn it down or not, but I wanted to leave it open in order to kind of like get a look at this TV, how it's reflecting off of it, and if it causes any issues. And to be honest, it looks better than most other TVs because I would probably see myself in the reflection of a typical LED, or with an OLED, it might be more muted, but you'd still see yourself to a degree. And I really see nothing in the reflection, so that's a bonus. And we actually took an S95D from last year to a house up in La Jolla where they loved that finish because they really had issues with reflections in that place too. And we resolved that with the S95D. So I do think that there is a great use case for the S95F. And obviously Samsung is taking this to heart because they're putting this on more of their QLEDs as well. So let's move on to the operating system. Now this has Tizen OS, its own software, which has some pros and some cons. Quickly, we'll start out with the pros. One of the best features of the actual operating system is that you get all kinds of cool free channels on the Samsung TV Plus. I've always liked that you have that with Samsung, and they've been getting better over time. And to be honest, this part of the operating system is probably the best designed. You can get into live TV channels really easily. You can maneuver around the operating system and see all the different options for what you can watch now. It's sorted well from different genres, so you can more easily see what's playing. And in addition, you can actually watch movies movies and TV shows that aren't even live. So there's just a ton of options of things to watch, especially if you don't have cable. I think you could probably get away with just having this and be very happy. And obviously there's a ton of other apps that you might use even more so than the Samsung TV Plus. You can basically get any app you need, but as you can see, it's kind of up here at the top. And that's one of the gripes that I have with the operating system, is that it's not the cleanest looking overall operating system with regards to ease of use. There are some really cool features, so you can get into like the gaming section here. And one of the cool things is that you can stream games without even needing a console. I mean, there's all kinds of games that you can play here. Now, it does depend on how fast your internet is and if this can keep up and you don't lag out in a game where it's important that you have high speeds, but still, it's a pretty cool feature and I like it. And then the other thing is the Samsung Health. You have a lot of activities you can do. It's a little harder to find this stuff. So if you go to the Daily Plus, you can either go into the feature and find all these different apps, or go up here and in the Health, you know, get a bunch of workout videos and do some things here. And if you're in the Samsung ecosystem, you can connect your watch or your phone and figure out how many steps you've done or how long you've worked out. This doesn't have my information set up on here yet, but I do use this when I'm on Samsung TVs. It's a pretty cool feature, and I am in the Samsung ecosystem. And lastly, on the positive, there is ambient mode, which is pretty cool when you have the TV on in the background. If it goes idle, it'll put on one of these cool backgrounds and let that play. Not exactly the same as art mode, but this does not have art mode. A lot of the QLEDs and of course the Samsung frame do have art mode. Now, I was in a case study looking at different TV operating systems, and Samsung didn't score that well, to be honest, because of the design. But again, you do have a lot of the apps that are easy to use, so as long as you can find them, they're good to go. And the Samsung TV Plus is awesome. And if you don't like any of that stuff, you can just connect a third-party device like we have an Apple TV or Amazon Stick or anything else to just watch your movies and shows more easily. But let's move on to some of that, because I want to watch some basketball and see how this S95F holds up with regards to its lower resolution upscaling. Now let's start with basketball, because that's a tough one. When you're just watching commentators on screen or when it's slower action, a lot of TVs generally look pretty good and pretty even, and that's no different with the Samsung S95F here. Looks fine. However, when you get to some fast-paced sports and the players are smaller and there's a lot of them moving around on the screen, that's what really challenges TVs to kind of keep up with the motion and picture quality. And Samsung hasn't always been the best with its upscaling. It's not really top tier, it's more in the middle, and that kind of rings true with the S95F here. As I'm watching some of these highlights, you can clearly see there's a little bit of pixelization around some of the players that isn't as noticeable if you have something like a Sony for upscaling. Sometimes it's because certain TVs try to exact every single pixel and then fail, whereas I think Sony kind of just takes a good average over the course of the picture, and it's just better at upscaling, and it's just processing in general. So that specific point with regards to upscaling isn't as clean, but overall, the TV is really bright and has amazing contrast, and so for most people with regular cable content, it's going to look great. It's just when you get into very specific situations, it's not quite as good as some of the other top tier TVs. Now, I did go in and change a couple of the settings, and I actually do like this little pop-up menu on the bottom left, so I didn't mention that earlier with regards to its new operating system or UI, but you can choose different picture modes, and obviously filmmaker mode's a little dark, but when we had it in the standard mode, it does seem to pop a little bit more, but that does depend on how bright it is and if all of the different eco mode settings are turned off and whatnot. Obviously, if you're in a brighter room, keeping it at 50-50 of brightness, and peak brightness I typically keep on high. You don't necessarily need to have the contrast enhancer on, but it does help pop even a little bit more, and I typically like to have it on warm 1 for the color temperature, just so it's not too blue. I turned off the picture clarity settings so that we don't have any motion interpolation issues when comparing the motion, but you can add those in there to kind of make it look a little smoother, reduce the noise, etc. But overall, as I said, I think it looks pretty good on most content here, just not perfect when you're watching fast-paced sports like basketball, football, soccer, any sport in which there's a lot of people on the screen moving all around in small areas. Now, I've already seen this TV a couple times to tell you that the picture quality when watching movies is absolutely fantastic. It's really bright, has obviously the infinite contrast or really good contrast that looks great on an OLED TV, and overall, I think it's fantastic. Even though it doesn't have Dolby Vision, I still think HDR movies can look really good. But we ran into a bit of an issue with this TV because as soon as we put it into the HDR, we kind of lost a little bit of the contrast in the background. Everything kind of looked washed out in the background. It's hard to see, but here in person, we can tell very easily that something was a little bit wrong. I've already reached out to other people to find that they have not had that problem, and maybe it's just individual to this TV, and we're going to reach out to Samsung, but we couldn't get the contrast to look perfect. For example, in this movie, the people kind of look washed out. You can notice it best when you're looking at the guy here, Drax. cracks, the skin tone. Normally there's a lot more definition and there's like more black area on the screen and everything just kind of looks gray. So we went to the Apple TV in which we can eliminate HDR and then put on the same movie in SDR, which is just the standard dynamic range. And we see that the movie looks completely normal. You have much better black levels. You have better overall picture quality with SDR over HDR. And so that was a little bit concerning and we're gonna have to work that out. But it's good to know that the TV looks amazing in the 4K SDR. It doesn't look great in the HDR on our specific set. So we might just have to reset the TV. But overall, I know that the Samsung TVs look really good in HDR and this is just more of an individual problem that we're having. But I do have to say that this looks amazing, even though I know it is SDR. If I didn't know any better, I'd think it's HDR, but I do know better. So we'll have to follow up in a review or a social media post about what the fix was. And while we're in the movie section, I do want to talk about that Q990F soundbar system because I've been listening to it the entire video so far and it's pretty good. But I can't play you a lot of the content because it'll get flagged, so we just have to talk about how good it sounds. And obviously it sounds much better than just having the TV alone. So if you can swing a soundbar, it's the way to go. But what I like about the Q990F is that it's an all-in-one system here. So you get a soundbar, 2 rear speakers, and the cool subwoofer, which is actually a lot smaller than it used to be. So it takes up less room and that's a positive. And it's even better when you use a Samsung TV. So you have the Q Symphony where all of the speakers from the TV and the soundbar rears and sub all working together, giving you a really big sound stage throughout the room. And I have to tell you, there's sounds coming from all over the room that I wouldn't expect. There was some gunfire in the top right, and then behind me, there were people like sounding like they were zooming past behind me as well. And it's just a really tall sound stage all around the room, lots of good treble and bass, and you can actually adjust everything individually, which is a huge feature in my opinion, because I know a lot of systems calibrate themselves and can give you what they determine is a good sound. But you know, if you're sitting in the middle of the room or off to the side and you can't hear the center channel, for example, I like that we can actually just increase the center channel only to a certain level and keep it there. And the same goes with the side speakers and the back speaker and the bass and the treble and all that. So having an EQ or being able to raise certain areas of sound is really big to me, and I like that feature. And besides that, I think the overall sound quality is very good from this system. So much better than just having the TV alone. Having great sound quality really adds to the picture quality, so I like having them both. Gives you the real movie theater experience in your home. Now, depending on when you're watching this video, that can be a really important factor with regards to buying one of these systems, because when we're making this video, it's about $1,500 for the whole soundbar setup. But I did look at the one from last year with the D at the end, so 990D, and that one was around like $700 or $800. So obviously some big time price fluctuations in these. So I think it's worth it. You know, obviously the TV is rather expensive. Same with the soundbar system. But you know, if you're buying a TV once every 10 years or so, this is still a lot less than it used to be 10, 15 years ago for a premium quality TV of this size and soundbar. This is a pretty amazing setup regardless of the price. But man, it sounds like I just gave you guys all the buying advice there, and we still haven't talked about gaming, so let's do that now. So probably the biggest feature of the S95F is that it's now a 165 Hertz native refresh rate. So that is really fast with regards to an actual TV. Some monitors obviously get more than that, but for a TV, that's awesome. And that really only matters most when you're gaming on a PC. If you're on a console like the PS5, like we are, it can get 144 Hertz at 4K. So that's pretty awesome. And it does have VRR and instant game mode and all that. And it's on all 4 HDMI ports. So a very dynamic set of features that the S95F has. And it does look really good as well, as we've talked about during this video. Very vibrant, bright colors, fantastic contrast. This is a rather large screen for this room. So I think for most people, you're going to enjoy gameplay on the S95F. And there is a game bar on this TV, so it shows you your FPS, whether or not HDR and VRR is on. And there are some other options that you can change in order to get even better gameplay. So a fantastic gaming TV this is. So my overall thoughts are that the S95F is a top of the line TV, one of the top 2 or 3 TVs in the world. Extremely bright, fantastic contrast. When it comes to an OLED TV, you're typically getting that. And this is a QD-OLED, so even better color, brightness, all those things that are amazing in 2025 with regards to TVs. The only issues we've talked about is the operating system isn't the cleanest, and we had a little bit of an issue when watching HDR movies. Doesn't seem to have that problem with HDR gameplay, and at the same time, gameplay is amazing. So really no issue there. And then we have that anti-glare finish. So it's either you really love that, or maybe it's not your favorite thing. You guys will have to let me know in the comments, because it seems to be a kind of a hot button issue. But I can tell you, in this room with this TV, light coming in from the right here, this really awesome sound bar, I see absolutely no reflection in the TV, so I'm I'm really happy there. And the sound quality of this Q990F is amazing. So overall, this is a fantastic setup. And I think anyone would be lucky to have a system like this. But it is expensive. I did mention that earlier. And you guys will have to let me know if the price is right for you, if you're going to wait till Black Friday, if this is something you're just going to get one time and not worry about it and move on, and if the soundbar is something that you're going to include as well. But let me know those things in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions as well. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. Make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys on the next video.